Dunsy here for the Squinters pre-game. The crowd is electric. We've got at least 20,000, maybe 25. Kids have taken over today and they are running the show here. Lions are out, warming up. Giants are in their huddle, they've warmed up. They're looking good. They are looking red hot. Big Simpson, he looks fired up. Toby's in a daydream, but that's fine. The coaches are coming to the side. What else have we got going on here? Yeah, the umpires, they're looking good. They're looking fresh. Look, this is a danger game, I won't lie. I'm nervous. But the boys look fired up. They look focused. So we'll see how we go. Fingers crossed, we'll touch base a bit later.
V5 everyone, you are Greater Western Sydney's collective giant appetite for flag glory. We are the Squinters. This is our podcast, Never Surrender. It is the only Giants fancast in the universe, and that is the smell of legitimacy. Giants legitimacy. And it smells pretty fucking good. The GWS Giants organisation, as of last week, they now know we exist, and apparently they are big fans. I think it's safe to say that Never Surrender by the Squinters is now the GWS Giants' official unauthorised podcast. So think about it, potential Squinters sponsors. There's nearly 30,000 members and the whole of Western Sydney to sell stuff to, and we want to help you sell it to make this pod even more fabulous. So if your people want to talk to our people, email us at neversurrenderpod@gmail.com. Exactly like the Giants media honcho did on Monday, and I'm going to quote him, "Keen to support where possible. Plenty of good stories in the Giants fan base that can be told at the right time. Let's stay in touch to keep this growing." And then what do you know, the fabulous Alison Zell plugs us at the end of the Squinters endorsed podcast, The Footy Phil.
Just a shout out to a fan podcast that's just started up called Never Surrender. Which is a Giants fan podcast. I listened to their last episode, which was recorded live at Henson Park at the Needful.
Awesome.
It was good.
That's great. I'll tune into
So
that.
get around it.
Which is appreciated, but as you can hear, she thinks we're good. Like a Thursday afternoon flat white at your fourth favourite cafe is good. So thanks, Zelly, if we can call you Zelly. But if you want to endorse your Squinters a tad more rousingly less next time, I can feel free to take it to the max. That said, Zelly, she gave us a bit of a bump. Last week's live show has been downloaded now 1,000 times. And considering the first show was only downloaded a bit over a tenth of 1,000 times, that's all on you. So gracias, Alison. The Squinters, we love you platonically. But for everyone who has since joined our orange bandwagon recently and is wondering what the fuck, JSYK, the Squinters are a ragtag bunch of pharmacists, doctors, lawyers, wannabe politicians and accountants of various, not overwhelming footballing ability. Between the 10 of us, I think we played one game in Neefle and 100 games in the lowest division of Sydney footy for Sydney University Australian National Football Club during the noughties. We're spread around the world, but we come together on Facebook and are interchanging into this first-grade podcast team for the rest of the year, maintaining squad freshness and reviewing each Giants match until we fucking win the flag. Which, as of this week, seems a bit further away than it did when we started. We speculate wildly about the Giants from outside their four walls, officially unauthorised, unfiltered and uninformed, and there's a bit about the Giants to talk about tonight. We've got 3 new Squinters origin stories, a plethora of Giants and ex-Giants making comments about going or staying. We've got live hot Dunsy takes from the Brisbane fucking catastrophe at the Beanstalk this evening, and the official launch of our spin-off interview series, the Squinters Chat-Up. We're the Squinters, we're Giants fans, and like you, we never surrender. So let's get on with the pod. And who is on the pod this Sunday to talk about all the Giants topics we're talking about? That's a great question. I am so happy to announce 3 more debuts. Tonight is maximum squad freshness. Rolling into the team today, 3 Squinters who have been toiling away on their banner in the Squinters Facebook message thread and are now stepping into the pod light. We've got Bubs on board. everyone's favourite Squinter, who is our analyst and inside voice. We've got Growler, the handsomest Squinter in history. And we've got the Squinters draftee, so brand spanking new, this will be the first time most of the boys have heard his voice since my wedding in 2006. The best ruckman who's never rucked a Sharon, Dunsy. Gentlemen, Never Surrender is yours. How are you all, apart from a bit depressed?
Good evening, Needles.
Mate, I'm up and about after that intro. That was sensational. And I do have to clarify, I have played Aussie rules. So
Oh, really?
I played 3 solid games for Tamworth High School. So,
Right.
yeah, no, I'm not that fresh.
Everyone, that was Dunsy. Bubs, I'm going to throw to you. You're our analyst. You have an inside line into the Giants, and well, no, we won't go there. We won't go there immediately. What is your Giants origin story?
So, very pumped to be here this evening. Unfortunately, the circumstances are a bit disappointing, but
A bit disappointing.
But thank you nonetheless. Yeah, I'm sort of blowing up. But as I was telling the boys before, I was sort of blowing up more last week because that was the game that we should have won against the Bombers. So this week we were just thoroughly outplayed across the board. So I've come to terms with it over 4 quarters as opposed to the Bombers, which was just a bit of a kick in the guts right at the end. But anyway, my origin story. So I born in Frankston, grew up in Canberra, and we were a mad keen Fitzroy supporter family.
Whew.
Yes.
There's a dark cul-de-sac.
My old man's family, we all supported, they supported the Fitzroy Lions, and so did all the boys, and there was four boys.
You are the youngest of 4
I am.
boys.
And I was that into it that my granny in Melbourne used to send me clips out of the Herald Sun once a week about all the Fitzroy articles, which was pretty amazing at the time. So
Bloody hell.
I was pretty pumped, and
That was almost before the internet.
it was. And so born in '86, and then the old Fitzroy Lions folded in '96. So I had 10 years of glory, well, not really glory.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you describe it as glory?
Rapid decline.
But I tell you what, we had some good players. We had, Mark Zanotti, John Rombotis, Chris Johnson, Brad Boyd.
Ruse?
Some pretty big names there.
Never heard of them, bub.
Paul Ruse?
Oh, yeah, no, that was Rusey and...
Alistair, what's his face, from Brisbane?
Alistair Lynch. He floated around. Matthew Primus was kind of the number 1 or 2 draft picks.
Who also played for the
early
Giants
on.
later on down the track.
No, he didn't.
You sure about that?
No, he didn't.
Didn't he?
No,
Oh, was
he
that?
didn't.
Oh,
No,
that
he
was.
didn't.
Sorry,
No, he
take it back.
Brogan.
Yeah,
No, that's Dean Brogan. Anyway, so...
I'll delete that.
So they so they folded in, 96 and joined Fitzroy in 97. Had a few years of glory.
Joined Brisbane.
Joined Brisbane. We had a few years of glory. 2001, 2004, a lot of premierships. And then sort of became a bit jaded around 2010, 2011 when the Voss was at the helm with Favola and...
The Voss Favola disaster.
Yeah, the Bradshaw got punted and the whole thing was a bloody debacle. And then when the Giants came to be, it was I started following them pretty closely, and it was, and I wouldn't say I was a diehard straight away, but I was a pretty big fan of Lukey Power being at the Brizzy Lions moving over to the Giants, so I was pretty pumped about that. But sort of a couple of years in, I really got into them, and probably about five years now, I've been sort of been a bit of a diehard, and being located in Balmain and Rozelle, I see a fair few of the boys around at the local cafes and restaurants and that sort of thing. And I also...
Balmain and Rozelle, which is west of Glebe, Anzac Bridge.
It is. And so I have a chat with a few of the guys and have a bit of a, every now and again have a bit of an inside story on what's happening. Is Toby going to come back this week or isn't he going to come back in? And the other connection on the inside is I have a very good mate of mine in what's called the Captain's Club, and you might not know what that is, but it's a coterie group for Giants supporters that a lot of them are corporates, and they I think they pay $5 or $6 grand a year, and they they have
a certain economic class of Giant supporter.
Yeah, and they
genuine squinters.
Yeah, so they put money in and. Genuine,
Which we love, by the way. I mean, we're a broad church.
And so I tend to go to a few games with those guys, and they have they have kind of, a couple of times they have, the head of the recruitment that come in and give a talk, or one occasion Leon Cameron came and gave a talk, or some of the other assistant coaches, and so you have a bit of an insight into what's happening on the inside, so which is pretty awesome. So that's my.
So we could get some good scoops from you.
We do.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Well, on the old Facebook chat, we have a bit of, I throw out a bit of banter. So who knows?
What's your? You played footy since basically 2 days out of the womb, as far as I can tell. Favorite position?
Oh, it's got in midfield.
The only position you've ever played, I understand.
Yeah, the only position. The only, yeah. And I'll correct you. Actually, we have 2 NEFL games between us Squinters. I had one back.
Tickets.
Back in the day. So I like to have that under the belt. We got pumped, but that was the first year anyway.
No, rack them up. 2's much better than 1. Look at us, fucking fair enough. Because we're all a team, right? And so we share glory. Favorite Giants player, Bubs?
Cal Ward, all heart and soul.
Goes in hard for the ball, gets it out. Reminds you of yourself.
No, I love Cal. He was a real man's man, Cal. So.
He's hard not to love.
Yeah, he's got a hard head, concrete head. I like that.
Did you say he was a real man's man? Because I don't know if you should be talking about him in the past tense.
No, he'll be back next year. He'll be back stronger next year.
Well, that's lovely. Well, welcome to being on the Squinters live for the first time. It's wonderful to have you, and we are looking forward to your analysis, which Cheese generally tends to steal and then passes off as his own, but it'll be nice to have it live for once. Growler.
Yes.
A Giants fan from way back? Not a footy fan from a lot. You came to Sydney Uni and then you came to footy.
Absolutely. Yeah, so my story begins on the mid-north coast of New South Wales in rugby league heartland.
Yes. Taree.
Good. Yeah, Taree, that's right.
Or was it Old Bar Head or something?
No, Taree grew up in Taree.
Latrell Mitchell country.
Oh, absolutely. And Boyd Cordner, yeah, absolutely.
And the Old Bar Clams, is it? The rugby team?
Yeah, Dunsy, you know a lot about
Dunsy,
that area. What's going on? So I definitely came to the game late. I grew up watching league and playing soccer, basically. Never played league. But yeah, ended up at Sydney Uni for university and just wanted to try something a bit different. A good friend and friend of a few on the podcast, Curls, was doing university with me, and he'd played junior AFL or for I think Western Suburbs maybe, and he was going to go down and have a kick. So I thought, we'll give it a crack, and that's how I ended up with Sydney Uni AFL. And safe to say, didn't know a lot about the game at that point. So I reckon there would have been on the TV maybe one game a weekend when I was growing up, and it's probably a Sunday afternoon game, or maybe after 96 when the Swans made the GF. Like they might have had like Saturday night games or something. So there wasn't really a lot to watch. I don't think. So it was a learning curve, and I watched a lot of footy, and so I never really had a team. There was a few friends tried to put me on a few bandwagons. I did have a soft spot for the Hawks for a period of time there. Obviously, that great team through the
little laugh.
Laugh of recognition. Bandwagon, maybe.
I was just thinking what C2 would be saying right now.
Yeah, definitely give C2 a shout out there. He was a big driver of that one. But that was a great team. That was a great team to watch football. I actually do believe that. And
what era are we talking here?
I guess from 2005-06 onwards.
Yeah.
So through the
Cyril, and
Lukey,
that era.
Hodge, Mitchell,
Hodgie.
That was like Buddy was there. That was a great team. So that was really good. But didn't really ever have that love. And I think you actually follow a team when. And it's maybe a bit like you, Needles. You sometimes you can't actually watch the game.
Yeah,
you get too frustrated by things. So I never quite had that with the Hawks. But when the Squinters came around, I thought I'd give them a go. Had some influential friends who chipped in, got me a jersey in the first couple of years when we were talking about following them, and then I actually went to the US for a few years and didn't really keep up to speed with things. But since I got back, I have been watching a lot more games, become a member the last few years, and yeah, really enjoying it.
Become a member, you say?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bit more context to your membership.
Purchase for me. No,
So
very
when
very
you say
kind.
became a member, what did it involve?
Was
Opening a
given a
present?
membership.
It was a very kind gift from my family, yeah. But and even more than
committed.
to be honest, even more than that, Needles, I've actually got one of the memberships where you get a designated seat. So I've got a seat
Oh,
number
stop.
somewhere,
Oh.
and I have actually never even seen that seat. I never sit in it.
Right.
I always
You've never waved to Bubs in his captain's club sitting on his nice
no,
cushion from your own
I'll just
seat.
be sitting there by myself. So if I ever go to the game, I just there's never really a packed house at the Beanstalk.
I think the last couple of times we went, Growler, was we pulled up a stool in that nice little glass members area.
Yeah, don't spread that word
Oh, the
too
members
far.
bar.
Don't spread that word
Yeah,
too
that
far,
was
Bubs.
classic.
That's
Exclusive.
to watch football.
Yeah.
Well,
Very good.
Growler, as you know, I mean, if you go without friends, because considering it was your idea, there's now official push for a Squinters Live podcast from the Giants game at Canberra when they play Hawthorn on August the 9th. So everyone keep tight for that. But quickly before we move to Dunsy, Growl, you built your way up. So you started playing bottom division Aussie rules for Sydney Uni, but ended playing Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah,
me a
so
while,
you
but yeah.
put in the hard yard. Didn't just float in and immediately go into first grade like some, of our other people. What's your favourite position? Because I imagine you played almost all of them.
I played most
Back
of them.
pocket.
Yeah, definitely back line. So I actually
Back pocket
I actually
plumber.
started in the forward line, and I think after a couple of years, I realised I didn't kick any goals. So
Because they all went up as opposed to
they
forward.
they did have a very high trajectory. Yeah, so I went down back, and I feel a lot more comfortable down back. I think depending on which grade I was, anywhere from a back pocket, I'd play a bit of centre half back in lower grades, which was good fun.
Nice one. And favourite Giants player?
I'll probably have to say Nicky Haynes, just the way that he plays. But there's
He's a beautiful man.
yeah,
Oh, I love Nicky. What a man bun
there
as
is
well.
a lot. I'm with Bub on Cal Ward. Yeah, you could talk all day, but yeah, I do feel comfortable. And spoiler alert, I wasn't very happy with his game tonight, but he's generally good to watch.
He got towed up, didn't he?
Right. Yep. Well, he wasn't by himself
That's true.
in that respect.
No.
Look, we got one more origin story to have a quick discussion of this evening, and you might have heard the tinkling of ice in the glasses. That's Dunsy is having a few stiff drinks, as far as I can tell, having been at the game that's just happened at Brisbane. Look, to set the scene, ladies and gentlemen, Dunsy came to Sydney from Tamworth with a reputation as a bit of a jet as a New South Wales country rugby second rower, with a heroic bowl haircut, 6'7", pretty fast, pretty mobile, relatively excellent hand and foot skills. Duns, did you have a good mate back in the day who was in your ear a fair bit about you coming down to play Aussie rules with Sydney Uni?
Did I have a mate?
Yeah. Can you remember anyone ever say, hey, mate, you should come and play Sydney Uni with me? Play Aussie rules with me in Sydney Uni?
I wouldn't call him a mate. Maybe an associate.
Bloke you knew. Yeah, right.
I knew a bloke that played footy. And, well, a bit like in Tamworth, the blokes that couldn't play rugby or, were just a bit gangly or just untalented at other sports ended up playing AFL. And it was a bit like that at uni. So, and I didn't end up having a go of Aussie rules.
You never came down, did you? No. And now in your early middle age,
mate, as you
loving
said,
the Giants and the game of Aussie rules with the passion of a born again, do you regret not listening to your mate who obviously only had your best interest at heart?
Absolutely. My shoulders were no good for rugby, but I reckon I would have been the greatest ruckman running around.
I completely agree. And let's, just in case your mate's listening, let's say he's listening, what would you say to your mate now about that poor decisions that you made?
You were right, Needles.
Well, what? So, I mean, you've come from a non-Aussie rules area like Growler, but you've never played, unlike Growler, or your 3 games.
Hey.
At Tamworth. What's your origin story, mate? Why the Giants play footy? Because you don't have a favourite position.
Oh, I do. I'm a ruckman.
Okay,
No, look,
ruckman.
a bit like Old Bar. Tamworth isn't known for Aussie rules.
It isn't.
It's generally league. Well, it is league or rugby. That's it, depending on which side of the train tracks you're on. And so I was
a pirate, was I right?
I am a pirate. Played rugby and had no interest at all at uni in Aussie rules, as you know. But yeah, probably around the time that the Giants were sort of a seed of an idea, I was down in Adelaide, living and working down there, and no rugby down there to watch on the weekend. So me and the boys would end up out at West Lakes watching Port Adelaide, and just got an interest from there. And they'd come in from Elizabeth and Salisbury and have this sort of almost cathartic experience on the weekend. They'd be yelling and screaming, and it was great fun, compared to rugby. The frustration of the Waratahs and just going to the SFS, and it was a completely different experience, and loved it. And so when I got back to Sydney in around sort of 2011, 2012, that's when the Giants were sort of starting, and we were actually doing a job at the Coliseum, as Sheeds used to call it.
Now the Beanstalk.
Now, Giant Stadium, and we were doing part of the build that they were doing to get the ground set up, and I had a bloke working for me from Ireland, a fit bloke, used to be quite good at hurling, and this bloke was walking past one day and got talking to him and said, found out he's from Ireland, and found out he was a bit of a sportsman. He said, "Mate, you should come down and have a kick with our footy team." This wasn't like a reserve grade Sydney subbies Aussie rules coach at the pub on a Friday night trying to get some players for his second division team. It was Kevin Sheedy, the AFL great, trying to get a bit of interest for his Aussie rules team. And at that point, I don't know, it sparked a bit of interest and sort of shed a bit of light on what Sheeds was trying to do at that stage. He was trying to get Western Sydney to buy in. He was trying to ignite something in Sydney, and trying to build a culture that everyone was buying into. And I loved it. And the first home game that they played against Essendon that year, and I ended up going to that, and they got flogged, of course, as they did in that first year. But I put a stake in the ground and said, "Yep, this is my team. I'm on board, got a membership, and have been on board ever since." But in terms of playing the game, I haven't done a lot. Haven't done a lot of
that's
actually
fine. We'll skip
playing
over
it.
that. You did share that iconic photo when you were at the 2016 prelim, was it? Oh no, the 2016 first qualifier where the Giants fisted Sydney, and you and a mate in your Giants gear surrounded by unhappy swans. That's a brilliant photo, and a little bit of what could have been.
That was one of the great moments.
I can imagine. Actually, I can't imagine, but I'll take your word for it. Who's your favourite Giants player?
Got to plug Cogs if he's listening. Cogs, we all love you. Please stay. But my favourite would have to be the little ferret, Toby Green. Probably Toby Green. He epitomises the club. Everyone hates him, but he's just tough and
loyal as fuck.
Yeah, loyal as fuck, and just he's just talented and doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks. He's just awesome.
And that's excellent. I mean, before we move to the review, which you were at the game this afternoon, so we're going to get some sort of live how unhappy it was reports. But GWS Chief Executive Dave Matthews came out and he gave a bit of a dig to Adam Treloar. Said he didn't really need to be saying what he was saying, as opposed to words to the effect of Coniglio, he'd probably want to leave. And summed up the interview by saying, "We didn't really miss Adam Treloar." I I think we missed him a bit. Thoughts? I mean, obviously he moves and other people step up, but Treloar is quite a good footballer.
Yeah, but he is, but he turns it over a lot. So I actually believe what he's saying. I mean, it wasn't a huge loss for us when we were picking up top-end draft picks on the back of it. So although Needles, I actually listened to the Dave Matthews interview, and there was
you listened to it. You didn't just float across the article like
and I would
yours
actually
truly.
pull out, and I'll give him a bit of a kudos for this, but he had a big go at Jeffrey Kennett, the president of the Hawks, regarding his comments on the security staff being temporary Australians or something like that.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, Jeff Kennett's racism.
He had a big go at it, and Dave Matthews is one of the only kind of presidents who
stepped
publicly
up,
stepped up and had a go at the kind of the Melbourne fraternity and the boys, kind of that whole crew, and bloody hats off to him. I loved it. So Treloar, yeah, good luck. He could go. I don't really give a toss, but I was a big fan of Dave Matthews stepping up to Jeffrey.
Yeah, I think we had enough talent to fill the gap. Yeah, he's a great player, but I don't think we've necessarily missed him with the other talent that could fill his place. But I'm like you, Needles. I didn't read the article. Sorry, I didn't listen to the. I read the article. I didn't listen to the interview. And I don't know. It's just how it's written, but it came across a little bit spiteful. But when he's sort of saying that he's certainly a lot more sure of himself now and that sort of stuff. But I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of messaging for Cogs or something. I don't know. But I don't think we've missed him greatly.
I also think it's one of those where you pull a tiny bit from a conversation and make it the headline. Like it was honestly the most marginal comment in the whole.
Just clickbait.
Kind of,
Are we talking about clickbait?
Yeah, it was massively clickbait.
But I agree with him. I think Adam Treloar's an awesome player, and Taylor Adams as well was bloody good, and they were good mates at the club. And he was probably my original favourite, so I was a bit gutted when he left. But
Adam was?
Look who's... No, Treloar was, yeah.
Yeah.
But, he's just a Melbourne boy. Fuck off to Melbourne. We don't need you. Like, look who stepped up in his place. Josh Kelly.
Taranto, Jacob Hopper.
Nah, but, mate, he loves it now. Yeah, Hopper, Taranto. So, no, stick with the Pies.
Right, well, that's quite conclusive. Adam Treloar, we hardly knew you and we did miss you, so...
Beat it.
Knock yourself out with Collingwood. Delidio, Mumford and Shaw are considering whether or not they're coming back for 2020. And John Patton's probably going to, apparently Hawthorn are really well and truly into him. What are the thoughts? I mean, I'll just say I'd have Delidio and Mumford. Shaw, who I love, and I think he's been outstanding in the back line for the past 4 years. In Adelaide, against Adelaide, Essendon, and again this week, he's made some horrific clangers that have led directly to goal.
I love him.
I don't know.
I love him. Liability, and Charlie Cameron just burnt him.
My take on it. I think Mummy's probably going to be cooked by the end of the year. He's
no.
One of the frustrating things with him as a supporter is he's just so clumsy when he gives away all the free kicks. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to smash blokes, but he's just giving. I think he's the highest.
Well and truly by 15, he's put a gap in him in terms of giving away free kicks.
So the insight was first game after round one, down at the coffee shop chatting to one of the guys from the Giants players.
You're not allowed to say no names.
I won't
no
say.
Names.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Won't. Yeah. No names.
Harry.
And I was just sort of chatting like, oh well, how'd it go? And the first thing he said to me was, how good was it to have Mumford back?
Yeah.
He was like, all the boys walked taller with Mummy out there, and it was a real difference. And so that's coming from a player at a coffee shop.
I mean, I think he really was in the first part of the season, the first sort of 8 or 9 games.
I think you're right, and there's been I think it was Terry Wallace last week or the week before mentioned a few, like his body's not holding up, and he was obviously rested this week. I would be surprised if he plays. He probably, I reckon they should probably actually rest him for another week or two, and then building up for the rest of the year. I don't think I don't think they should be talking about next year for him. I think they should
If
be
there
just
is a
trying
rest
to
of
get
the
him
year.
through the end of the year. Personally, I think he's good from one perspective. That physicality is great, but I'm with Bub on the number of free kicks he gives away, and it is pretty frustrating.
But
What
yeah,
about
I mean,
Lids? I'm still. Oh no, sorry, Bubs.
Yeah, no. Well, let's jump to Lids. I mean, I reckon if his body holds up, I think you'll probably give him another year. I mean, the thing I like about Lids from a salary cap perspective, and that's a big. You need to take that.
That's a big perspective.
With our team, he's. I think you can get away with potentially. He's not going to be your most expensive player, and he'll also hold down a pretty solid position. So. If his body holds up, and it is obviously predicated on that,
he's been good
I'll be
the
able
last
to
month or two.
He's
good tonight. I thought he was good tonight.
Well, and speaking of salary caps, John Patton to Hawthorn.
Yeah. Well, just on that, what do you reckon? What do you reckon he'd be worth next year?
How much does a Nerico cost?
Yeah.
So his contract at the moment, he's signed on for the Giants. He's signed for next year as well. He's on. I think he's on 700-ish.
Yeah, right. That hurts.
We're going for another year at 700.
That's a lot of dollars as well.
Oh, that's the kind of the talk on through the media.
Yeah.
It's big money.
I actually think they're probably. So I think they were talking him up how good he's going this week. And I think they'll give him maybe a run or two in the first towards the end of the year, depending how the team's going, just to show he's got a bit of value. And then I think they'll try and find something for him at the end of the year.
Obviously, we'll see how the season develops. But at this stage, we're happy to tearfully wave off Patton. Lids can stay. Mumford, asterisks. And what about Heater?
All depends on the salary cap.
Yeah, I feel like Heater's been running like he needs a hip replacement for about 7 years.
Running
mate,
waddly,
it's a waddle.
Maniac.
I think he's got more in him, but I think also, I don't think you're going to get any. Is he out of contract? I don't even know.
Yeah, no, I think those guys are. I think they're all on kind of 1 year. Yeah.
So I can't see him getting a look in anywhere else really. So I think similar to what Bub was saying before, you might be able to get him relatively cheap and keep him around as a fill-in.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, Grau, with Heater in particular and some of the young guys coming through, like we've got some really good, like Isaac Cummings and a few other guys that would slot in there really nicely, and it's almost
give them a go.
I think we almost need a bit of a I do love Heater, but I do think it's good to get that refresh coming in. So I'm probably I wouldn't be too displeased with Heater if he decided to hang up the boots for a pretty amazing career.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, with that slightly maudlin perspective, but ruthless, which is good. Thanks, Bubs.
Yeah, be ruthless.
We're going to move to the second quarter, which is the quarter no one wanted to talk about. I've got a very big glass of red wine beside me. It isn't helping. Dunsy, you were there. My summation of the game is that I thought it was fairly even for the first 30 seconds, and after that, Brisbane were much better than the Giants. The end.
Yeah, look, I don't know whether it was the Jew or
at the Beanstalk.
At the Coliseum, the Beanstalk, Giant Stadium, Skoda Stadium, whatever you want to call it, Spotless.
No, we'll call it the Beanstalk.
The Beanstalk. Yeah, the marks weren't sticking, the tackles weren't sticking, the umpires...
They weren't sticking for the Giants.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The umpires were against us. It wasn't happening, and I think it was probably the intensity of the lines. Because in terms of the stats, I think we were pretty even, if not on top for a lot of the important stats, but just not the score. So yeah, it was. I actually missed that first little start. So it felt like we just couldn't claw back from that 20-point margin. It was like we'd score a good goal that took a lot of building up to, and then straight away they'd score an easy goal.
But early doors, they killed us on the break. And then from like halfway through the second quarter, it was game versus game, and they were well and truly good enough.
Halftime thoughts from expert analysis Derek Duns.
I think they're getting sucked into the ball. It's getting it's too congested.
Yeah. So what do we do?
Spread out.
Spread out. Excellent expert opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, they were good, and their defenders, they are good. Like they've got a good, solid team there. I reckon they're a smoky for the premiership.
It was also our delivery, Dunsy.
Our delivery
into the forward 50 was horrendous, and that also came down to the better pressure by the Lions.
Exactly.
Like they were putting our mids under pressure.
That's what it felt
really
like.
Bombing away.
Yep.
And you mentioned stats, so you're at the game, but I picked out a few stats post game from the AFL.
Right,
so we won
good work. Solid.
So we won the clearances 55-43.
Yep. Really?
We won the centre clearances 15-11. We won the stoppage clearances 40-32. We won the contested possessions 160-135.
Yeah.
But with turnovers, we bloody butchered it 74-62. I mean,
right.
And that just highlights that, like, we got our first hands to the footy, but the pressure was just pretty much too much, and we just butchered it.
Yeah, it felt like no one had time. Like Needles, your repetitive saying is Sam Reid just doesn't seem to have enough time. Well, it felt like that applied to everyone.
It's hard for diabetics. Yeah, they'd be doing we'd be doing loopy handballs, and there'd be one of their guys would be on the person as they were receiving the ball, whereas a lot of their stuff was sharp, or they were just getting it to foot, but they'd have people open, and moved it really cleanly down the line. Like, they are really well coached.
Yeah, they're good. They're going really well.
I thought from it was almost from the first ball up we weren't firing, and it was interesting. My brother was at the game, Lukey. And he's all about fire. And the first thing he messaged me after the game was just lacked fire. No real run from the back line.
Yeah, Needles and I were talking this before we started recording. There was a couple of moments there when the ball literally dribbled between Giants' legs, and they were just standing over the top of it. I just don't think anyone turned up today. The other thing that I
thought Stormy was good.
Stormy was solid.
Yeah.
And he got 4, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I think just around the pressure as well, a couple of other stats that I was just looking at was just our forward pressure was just non-existent. Like Jeremy Cameron, 2 tackles. Finlayson barely turned up at the ground.
He was a shocker.
Like, the ball, maybe the delivery wasn't great coming in, but the ball just bounced straight back out again. We just, apart from like the first half of that last quarter, we just couldn't keep it in that region.
Yeah, but even when we were keeping it in the first half of the last quarter, there wasn't like we were piling on the goals.
No, exactly. But
and that's the interesting point, because we've actually gone small in that kind of forward 6 setup, because we've brought Langdon in.
Yep.
As a half forward flank. We've got Stormy Daniels on one of their half forward flanks, which should be getting the pressure. But the change that I didn't quite like is I actually think that Jez is most dominant, Jez Cameron, when he's up and about up the field.
Yeah.
And then he's working both ways, and then Harry and
one out.
Finlayson are deep, are deep near the square. Because if you think about the first 2 games when we were playing particularly well, Finlayson's all his goals were within pretty much 30 metres out.
Yep.
And they were deep. And Jez was racking up 30 plus, 25 plus possessions and 5 goals or something. So, and lately it's been like Stormy getting the ball on the wing and trying to hit Harry Himmelberg running back towards goal. Like, I don't think that's our game.
Well,
and
our forward line was
no.
super crowded all the time. Theirs wasn't.
Mm.
And when it was, there was more crowded with their players. Like Lockie Neal. Lockie Neal is a jet.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's a jet.
Brownlow, there it is.
Oh, wow. Big call.
No, I think he will.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That's why people listen to the Squinters.
Heard it here first.
But I mean, so we were trash, but I don't think it was because we could have been better. As was it? Oh yeah, as Bub said, you came to terms with it early on because it was poor play. Brisbane were excellent.
I think they
are
didn't let
now.
us play
They're the
well.
real deal, like the genuine article. I give them a chance.
I tell you who I really like, and I think's really underrated is old Sammy Taylor in the back line.
Oh, so good.
Oh, he's excellent.
Doesn't he love
He's
a
excellent.
contest?
Did
Growler, you would love him.
Dunsy, you were there. Did he come onto the field with a strapped head, or was it strapped within the first 2 minutes?
That was noted. Maybe he was just protecting his ears. I don't know, but yeah, he definitely came on strapped up, and a lot of respect for that.
I feel like he's strapped up in another game as well.
Yeah, I think he might have done something a couple of games ago.
Did he get the injury last week? Or
yeah, okay.
Is it a fashion statement? I don't know.
But he is good.
Taping up the earrings.
A stud. You got a stud.
Yeah, I mean, so the problem with that game, which was at home, why are we wearing white shorts if we're at home?
White shorts.
That's a good observation. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, well, that's my problem, because they were in their away kit and we're in our...
You might have to put that out to the fan base.
I will. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Never Surrender Pod. What the fuck? Why were we wearing white shorts? There was your reason. But my problem with that is it's not like it's a lost opportunity. We win the Essendon game. We were second with the results that fell our way. Now we're fifth. That was an 8-point game, but it wasn't because we were better but missed the opportunity. It's because we were beaten.
Yeah, we were beaten.
There's been a few of these this year. Like we probably had a bad loss to Hawthorn. We had a bad loss to Adelaide. And then this was an Essendon obviously, and then we got absolutely flogged today.
Yeah, I mean Adelaide though I can put down to the refs and a couple of missed opportunities. We kicked a lot of points, but this one they kicked more goals and more points. It wasn't. It was a comfortable win for them. I think they probably felt fairly comfortable for most of the game. They were never under real pressure on the scoreboard ever.
And the other thing is some of their big forward, old Hipwood, he was on one leg for 3 quarters.
That was amazing.
But clunking marks and kicked a couple.
Oh, yeah. He could hardly walk.
Yeah,
and
right.
That was early. That was probably
for a gazelle.
Yeah, hard for a little. You know what he looks like? He's Nadal, like a gangly, tall Rafael Nadal.
That's bang on. Well played.
Yeah, but that was in the first 10 minutes, and I thought he's gone. Actually, I thought he was out for the game, but he was still marking and kicking. I think he kicked a good goal. He's a gun.
I tell you who was also good for the Lions, and this is thrown back to the Hawthorn days. I watched the the Brisbane-Melbourne game last week, and I thought Hodgie was a bit flat, but Hodgie was really good today.
Oh, yeah. Up and about, wasn't he?
Yeah, a couple of big hits. There was one moment he hit Jeremy Cameron. There's no way Jeremy Cameron shouldn't be able to flatten a late 30-year-old Luke Hodge. But
yeah, right.
Mind over matter, I think.
Look, before I finish this one and move on to the third quarter, where we look at this week's upcoming game, are there any final comments? We're keeping this review short because it's not very triumphant.
No.
Put a fork in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's I don't know. I just kept feeling through the game I think our best is still better than theirs, and so
if we can find it.
I got a final thought.
Yeah, but I mean,
Whitfield.
Yeah, Whitfield.
But Josh Kelly did his calf, so.
No, I don't know. I don't think it's his calf. I think
ankle.
It's something, but I don't think it's a soft tissue injury.
A bump, not a strain.
Yeah.
But my theory is this, right? Is this what we do every year? It feels like we do. We sort of have this bit of a lull after the bye, and we lose a couple of games that we should have won. And I've got no stats to back this up, but it feels like that's what we do. And then we come good.
Well, if you feel it, feelings believing.
No, Dunsy, I reckon you're spot on. The last couple of years, we've done the same sort of malaise out of the bye week.
Yeah.
And then we don't really hit our gears until.
Well, it was 10
couple
days.
of
We had
weeks
another
to
bye,
go.
effectively, because it was 10 days since the Essendon game. But moving on to the third quarter, and I mean, we would want to maybe come good fairly soon, because I did the ladder predictor at 1 a.m. a couple of nights ago, and I ended up with a Tigers GWS Grand Final.
Jesus.
It was predicated on Brisbane losing. We were going to beat Brisbane this week. And we've got a decent run in. However, we play a Richmond team who have put a sword through Gold Coast by 100 points up at Metricon, and we play them at the MCG. And I'm just, off the top of my head, our record at the MCG is not as good as it's not great. And Richmond are feeling it. And we play them on Sunday on the 14th. So next Sunday at about lunchtime. What do we think?
I was a lot more confident before this weekend.
I wasn't confident, and now I'm not.
Whatsoever.
I think if we got through...
I didn't watch this. I didn't watch the Suns game.
Oh, yeah, I was just getting updates, and they had 100 points by half time.
Yeah, I saw the score, and that was enough for me.
Sydney Stack won the game off his own back.
He's amazing.
Oh,
I tell you,
God.
if we don't, he'll win the Rising Star, I reckon. But if we come through tonight without any injuries, and we get Whitfield back, and we get possibly Mumford back, I reckon we're right next week.
At the MCG?
Oh, we love it there. We love it.
Okay, right. Yeah. No, sorry, I forgot. Okay.
I think we have to be, like, if we're
You're
going
accusing me
to
of big calls, Dunsy.
if we're going to be anything in finals, I think we have to win next week. Because if we don't, then we're bottom 8.
Yep.
We haven't won.
We fucked our
anything
chance for a
really,
top 2.
apart from we've been Geelong, but that was a long time ago.
Not at the MCG.
Not at the MCG, correct. So yeah, I think next week is make or break almost for the season.
And then it's Pies, isn't it? Pies at home.
Exactly.
Pies at the Beanstalk. And then I think after that it's Hawthorn at the Golden Egg.
No, it's Port Power, isn't it?
Port at
Power.
Port.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Yes, it will. Well, we'll find out a lot about it. It could be, worst case scenario, this wonderful podcast, which everyone's getting on board, will have managed to have a great chat about one win. But we meet again next Sunday, and everyone's all cock a hoop and talking about was an amazing victory against an up and about Tigers team. But Tigers looking all right. They're back, and they've got lots of players to come back as well. Apparently, Rance is going to play.
No.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. No, not this week.
Not next week.
This season.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks.
And Rewalt must be pretty close.
I think Rewalt's back this week.
Yeah, right.
That's what I heard last week. He was potential.
Don't sound
for
too
this
chirpy
weekend,
about it, Bubs. Yeah, I mean, so okay, I'll get a rate of confidence, Bubs, for Richmond at the MCG next Sunday. Out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say it. Yeah, well, it's I mean, it's either they're going to win or they're not. It's a
Yes.
it's a soft win for me. It's as flaccid as it gets, but it's a win.
That's a graphic description. Growler?
I've been pessimistic so far, but just in case the podcast has exploded this week and some of the boys listen to it,
Just in case.
I'm all on them.
When it explodes.
Yeah, and Phil Davis might be listening this week after the plug last week. So yeah, I'm on them. 9 out of 10 chance of winning.
I don't have time to give Phil Davis a bit of a slap about his whinge about Sydney Uni not getting a degree on a platter.
Yeah.
But I'll keep that for next week, Phil.
Degrees are hard, Phil.
Just some advice. Duns?
Oh, no, we'll win.
I was confident. I like it.
No, 5 words.
I like
That's all
that.
it needs. I don't think we will. And it's not because I'm not a fan. It's just because I will be watching. Therefore, we won't. Watching it from the countryside. Okay. Well, fair enough. We'll convene again after the Tigers and GWS game. Yeah. Look, this is the fourth quarter. This is play on at all costs, and we're going to talk about anything we like. And Bubs, you presaged. You said a little teaser. You've got something to talk about.
Yeah, well, it's the membership. It's the membership story. So as as you may have seen over the week, I think, what are we, within 100 of hitting 30,000.
Really?
members.
A couple of days ago, it was 796.
Okay.
And I was going to encourage our 4 downloaders from China to get on board, which would make only 792. Ni hao.
But I also wanted to put a bit of perspective around the challenge in Sydney and about getting members for sporting teams. Like, for example, so you got Sydney FC out there with 15,000 members. You've got the Rabbitohs at 30,000 in the rugby league. You've got
The most
Parramatta
popular
Eels at
NRL team in the country.
Yeah, you've got the Parramatta Eels at 23,000. You've got the Wanderers at 20,000, and you've got the Waratahs at 15,000.
Really?
That's rugby for you, Duns.
And the Swannies.
And declining.
Have obviously been here for a long time and done very well at close to 57,000. So they're obviously well ahead, and I think they're the biggest sporting team in New South Wales, sporting club. But the other thing that I know the Giants cop a lot of stick from the Melbourneites in general, but the one area where I keep pointing to that I think they're all bloody hypocrites was the Melbourne Storm, the team that was put into Melbourne 22 years ago. They just announced 20,000. They just announced 20,000 members. I think might have been last year as their kind of their hit. And so in the Giants, in their first 7 years of actually playing AFL, we've just been close to announcing 30 bloody thousand members. So
wow.
I think that's
awesome.
nothing to be
That
sneezed
is a
at.
great point.
If you actually view it in perspective of Sydney footy, and although as we know Sydney, they're pretty fair weather supporters in terms of going to the games, I think for doing what the Giants have done, I think it's a pretty big achievement.
Here. And obviously,
Bob, that's fantastic analysis.
Canberra was the city that was supposed to be neutral between Sydney and Melbourne, but Melbourne, Bubs has just torn you a new one, and so you can suck it. And that's from the national capital.
You've got all these Melbourne guys that they support the Storm as their rugby league team. Meanwhile, they follow they go for Richmond, or they go for Collingwood, or they go for the Demons, or whoever they go for. But the Storm is their rugby league team, and what the Giants are trying to do in Sydney is the AFL team of the West should be the Giants. And, I think that's sometimes lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they've definitely come a long way in a very short period of time.
That's extraordinary. And I mean, here's something. The 30,000th member to sign up will get a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to talk with the Squinters live on the pod. I mean, there you go. That is a locked-in guarantee.
There's a spike.
Facebook and contact me. Yeah, and away we go. But so watch them roll in.
Do you speak Chinese?
We'll get there tonight.
Chinese?
Beg your pardon?
Do you speak Chinese?
Our first Cantonese
Touche.
podcast.
Not as well as some.
Okay.
No, that's a good point. I also sort of my thing that I wanted. We've just recorded myself and Bartman and Growler. We've just talked to Katie and Murray for the first inaugural episode of the Squinters Chat-Up, which is our spin-off interview series. And so this week the Squinters chatted up Katie and Murray, who got engaged wearing Giants fleeces by Dove Lake in Tasmania. It's a story of romance and desire that will keep you glued to your earphones, and we're gonna drop that probably next Monday in lieu of this number 5, because it will be a bit late and I'll be in the country, so I'll probably do it a bit later in the week. But so that's going to be, I really encourage everyone to listen to that. They're some wonderful people. They've got a great story to tell. And then the next guest that the Squinters are going to chat out, we've just booked in Chris Bowen, the man who could have been the Australian Treasurer, who's a Squinters from way back, and we're going to interview him in his Parliament House office in a couple of weeks' time. So if you have questions, any questions about any topic, send us to them at neversurrenderpod@gmail.com, and we will get the now Shadow Health Minister. We'll put him on the spot. Thanks, Chris, and he'll answer those questions. And I suppose that's a particular request for questions from the Squinters' stone-cold favourite Giants board member, Catherine Matthews. Shout out to Catherine. We really, really love your board work. So send us some questions for Chris. Anyone else? Anyone else is playing on?
I'd like to request an interview with Melissa Doyle and possibly Mitchell Stark, who is a big Giants fan.
Yeah.
So Starky, we know you're listening. Email address.
He's a huge fan.
Lots of downtime in the World Cup. He's definitely listening.
Just before or after the semi-final, just let us know. We'll be
We're
here.
flexible.
We talk to people in England and France and America all the time, so it's easy for us. And Melissa Doyle, Duns, you've got contact details?
Yep, I'll zap them through. Mel will be in touch.
Growler, what are you talking about?
Not very much Giants related, but I just wanted to give a bit of a shout out to Majak Dor. Got back into football today.
Good call.
I think he played 20 minutes or so. Took a big grab, had a big smile on his face. It's obviously
with a metal rod in each hip.
Yeah, he's come back from a long way. So it was interesting. I was listening to, I think it was SEN Radio earlier this week. They interviewed his physio, I guess, or the trainer at North Melbourne there, and he said it's the most horrific injury and then recovery that he's sort of ever worked on, and he's amazingly impressed by his work ethic and his ability to get back to the game. So shout out to Magic Door, and hope he gets back to first grade soon.
Oh, that sounds.
He's a specimen. Really cool. Have you seen how good he looks? Man, he's a specimen
of a human.
human.
Yeah,
he's the most amazing human I've ever seen. And I've walked next to Ian Roberts, and he was the muscliest person. He used to play rugby league for South Sydney and Manly, I think, and I've never seen anyone with bigger boobs than Ian Roberts. But Majak Dor is elite.
Yeah, he's amazing.
In a platonic, go Majak way. How's your dinner, Duns? It's good?
Ice cubes. Shout out to the doner kebabs at the Beanstalk, by the way. They're sensational.
Well, in case anyone's got anything else, if there's not any more for any more, no, we'll wrap it up.
I've just got one.
No, we won't wrap it up.
Actually, it's an idea for the next one.
You don't want to tell me this offline? No, go for it.
Is this offline?
No.
Well, I feel like I need some music, because it'll be like, where are they? Where are they now? Like, where are they now?
Yeah, we can do that. Violins.
Yeah, like Thomas Bug. I love Thomas Bug.
I've got a story that there's a kid's Giants story.
I
love the Giants, and Thomas Bug is described as an up and coming player. I'm going to read the whole thing out when we've got a flat moment.
Please do. I loved him. I'll miss him.
Okay, well that's good. We could all do some research and come back with this is what happened to one of those guys who's left.
Yeah.
Alex Carey.
Oh yeah.
Alex Carey playing in the World Cup.
He's our Squinters correspondent. He hasn't quite responded to my emails yet. Maybe he's busy like Mitchell. But otherwise, look, that is it for another Never Surrender by the Squinters. Look, as I said before, subscribe and review us, but it's 5 stars or fuck off. On Apple Podcasts or Acast or Pocket Casts. It could be on Spotify. We're trying to get on Google Podcasts, but we need a website if anyone wants to be our tech person. Wherever you get your casts, speculate with us or at us via neversurrenderpod@gmail.com. And so we are closing the pod another week with the important message that of all the unimportant things in life, footy is the most important. We're the Squinters forever and ever, and gentlemen, we
never surrender.
Never surrender.
Never surrender.
That was very disappointing. Disappointing day at the Giants Stadium. Any positives coming out of it? My brother won a bit on the multi, which was good. Cogs most disposals and Harry most goals. But that was about it. A lot of drop ball, missed tackles, missed goals, and good pressure from the Lions. They probably deserved it.